Hi everyone, Lauren here. I'm so excited you decided to do this next clay kit with us with the Barrington Library. We are making jar frogs today. So everyone should have received their kit. There's a bag with some clay in it. You have a little handout with a circle template, a fork. You also have this bag with some little goodies that you could use to decorate your jar frog. Just to talk about what a jar frog is briefly. It's a clay disc that we're gonna be making. Sometimes jar frogs are made of other things like wire or whatever, but we thought a pottery one would be really fun. But what you're doing is you're decorating this shape that we're gonna make together in a second here with different textures and designs, and we're gonna poke holes through it. Because what we do, once you make a jar frog and it comes back, you can place it on top of any cup or vase. And right now you're like, ooh, that's a little wobbly. But once we put our stems of our flowers in there, one, it'll help hold them up so they won't droop over. And then it also just turns this into like a really sturdy vase. It's just fun. I'm gonna be glazing these a beautiful bright yellow for you. So just so you can kind of envision that on your piece afterwards. So, okay, let's get started. The first thing you wanna do is take your piece of clay, and you all have a piece of, like a paper, like a wax paper. I didn't have mine, so I'm just using a regular piece of paper. The reason we want to use that is so it doesn't adhere to our tabletop surface we're working on, and it's just easier for working on in general. So I'm gonna take my piece of clay, and before I roll it out, I just kind of want to get it into a circular disc shape. Now, for rolling, you can use a rolling pin at your house if you want to. You could also use something like a thick marker, like one of your kids' Crayola markers if you wanted to. But anything you can just to kind of give it out that rolling shape. And again, I'm kind of taking my clay and already making it into the shape I want, which will help me not have to roll as much. So you can see I'm just kind of turning it and I'm squishing it. It's kind of looking kind of like a hockey puck almost, right? I still want it to be kind of rounded, but I'm already pre-making that shape to make my job of rolling a lot simpler. All right, so I think that's pretty good. So I'm gonna put this down on my piece of paper and bring my video camera down so you can follow along with me. Oop. Okay, so now that I have this on my surface, I'm just gonna take a rolling pin and I'm rolling out. Now when I do this, I wanna turn it and roll from a couple different ways. And that's gonna help it so my clay is really even. I can even take my clay and flip it over and do that other side too. Turn it. So when I've got my clay approximately the size that my circle will fit on it really well, that's when I want to stop. We're trying to achieve the thickness of our pinky with the side of our clay. So think of that as a good reference. And then you're going to cut out your circle. It's okay if it's not perfect. And this is good cardstock, so it's sturdy for us. And we're gonna be placing our circle on top of our clay. Now in our little goodie bag, there's a toothpick. So we're gonna be using that to cut out, trace the circle, but cut out the clay piece. And don't worry, you might have to go a little slow with this. All right. And sometimes I like to just take pieces of clay off so I'm not working with as much after I cut it. If your toothpick breaks for any reason, just flip it over. Use the other side. That'll work well too. Okay. Now all these extra pieces I'm cutting off, just discard. Usually I can save and recycle clay, so if you really want to be thinking friendly that way, if you just want to put your clumps of unused back into your box when you return to the library, I'd be happy to recycle those. But if not, just throw this away. Discard this piece. So at this point, I've taken my circle, I've rolled out my piece, and I've cut it, and I have all these kind of crumbs left over. This is where we're going to use our best tool, which is our finger, and we're going to smooth those out. So the first thing I'm doing is just going around all my sides. Okay, and I've smoothed that with my finger. Now I'm gonna go to the top and do that top corner. Now some of those crumbs might fall off. Discard them, don't worry about that. And the other ones will be able to smooth. Again, your finger is your greatest clay tool. So I'm just using that and I'm going around my edges, as you can see, right? So I've done the sides now and my top. Flip it over, do the same thing to the other edge. The reason we really want to smooth these is when I fire it and apply some glaze, the glaze is glass-like, right? So if we have a sharp edge and we have that glass-like glaze going on there, it could be sharp. So we definitely want to smooth those edges over so we don't have any of that. Yay, perfect. My piece is ready for designing. I'm gonna bring my camera back up. Hi. So at this point, you're gonna be looking into your plastic bag for all these different things that you could use to create texture on your piece. So we're making texture on the top of our jar frog. So in here, let's see. I have, oh, this is so cute, a little thimble with a button. We could use this, I'll show you in a second what this looks like, to press in some star designs or whatever your button happens to be. A Lego. This works perfect for making little dots. Here, let me show you my Lego one. See all these little dots it created? Legos are pretty cool for texture. Another thing in here is string, yarn. You could lay this on, even if you were really creative, make a word like in cursive or something, so it said something, or just like a fun, funky design. This one, it's kind of subtle, but once I put the glaze on it, you'll be able to see. But I just laid yarn down and rolled it out underneath that one. Another thing you have in your kit is a fork, and you're like, why? You can make patterns and texture out of everyday objects you find in your house. This is one I made with this fork. It's kind of like a sunburst pattern, which I thought would look really cool with the yellow glaze when it's done. But I just used a fork and pressed into my clay. So you have a couple things in your kit you can use, or you can find something around your house. Say you have a beautiful lace doily, or say like a recycled bag from like avocados or something. You could roll that in there. It would be beautiful. And then the last thing you have in there is this. It's a wide smoothie straw. We're gonna be using this to gouge out the holes of where our flowers will go in our frog jar. So, jar frog. Let me zoom back down to my clay so you can see me make some of these textures. Okay, so one that I think is really cool are these little wooden thimbles with buttons sewn to the end. So what you can do is just kind of press into your clay. Oh my goodness, I love that. Oh, this is so cute. So I'm just pressing in all over. Oh, it's adorable. Look how neat that translated over. Oh, I love it. Another cool thing, like I said, is you could do something with your Legos if you wanted. So I'm just gonna be applying a lot of different things on here. It's gonna be a busy texture, but that's okay. I think it's gonna be really cool. So now I have some dots and I have some stars. If I wanted to do yarn, right? I'm gonna place it in a way that I think could look really funky, maybe like the swirl. All right. And then I'm just gonna take my rolling pin or marker, whatever you use to flatten your clay, and I'm just gonna roll that in a little bit more. Oh yeah. So now when I take it off, I kind of see that shape. Now, if you're gonna roll something, be careful. I might do your rolling pieces first and then do your stamping, because you can see like some of my stars. I'm just gonna have to go over them. And it also makes your clay a little bit bigger. So you just wanna be conscious of the size. Okay, and now our last step is we're gonna be taking that smoothie straw and we're gonna be pressing it through the clay and completely taking pieces out. Now you wanna make at least 10 holes. So when I do this and lift, the clay gets stuck in there and it pulls it out perfectly. So like I said, you wanna do at least 10, but you could do up to 15 holes. You don't want them to be too close together either, because if they're too close, it could just make your clay a little bit more brittle as it's drying. Dun, dun. If it feels like it's a little hard to press your straw in there, flip it over. right? Use the other end that's already hollow now. Dun, dun. See. Oh my goodness, this is so cute. All right. So this is perfect, right? I've made my clay piece and now I stuck the holes through. Now this is the last very important step. Flip that baby over and write your name on the back so we make sure we get it back to everybody. And it's wonderful to sign your artwork. Thank you so much for joining along. I hope you really enjoy this process and I can't wait to get these back to you. Have a great day, everybody. Bye.